was a number of good things to hit on from yesterday. One of the things that stood out to me at the start was just the amount of Cowboy fans there, and what a cool experience for everyone to feel it and be a part of. I know the impact that can make, and so seeing that and feeling that energy at the game, man, that was big, and I certainly felt it. And you've heard me say, it's about the ball, and the ball will decide the game. I think it's probably deeper than that. To really ask the questions, it's who gets them and how do you get the ball? Because it's easy just to say, okay, it's the ball and how do you get there, but how do you get them and who gets them? And so I thought, what a good way for DA and Law to kind of kick the thing off, and then in the finishing moments between Micah and a forced fumble and Malik on an interception. So it was kind of like the starting of it and the ending of it, in terms of the ball. So I was pleased to see that. And speaking of DA, I did see one quote that I thought was very interesting by him about who's the next him, meaning all of the players, the him, and there's been games where it was, an opener of Micah, and we saw Dono do one in Law against the Giants, and certainly DA had an excellent game yesterday. So I thought that speaks to the unselfish nature of the group, and it speaks to the entire crew and how deep and how hard we roll together, knowing that it may be somebody different the next week to be counted upon in a certain role. And so I thought that was pretty accurate description by him about the him, and they all could be that because we play guys in different roles in different ways, and if you key too much on one person, the next one's there ready to attack. And I thought that was pretty observant by DA. So long intro there, sorry, but it was such a cool thing to see so many fans there at the game. I think I'll share that with you, and glad to open it up.
David Moore, Dallas Morning News. Your consistent pressure through these first 5 games, how does it compare to where you ended last season? And it seems to be ratcheted up quite a bit. Just how did you get from where you were to there as consistently as you've done?
Well, I think number one is the players first, and knowing exactly how we fit together. Some of them have been blitzed, but not that many. And so having a good pass rush plan to get ahead on some of the down and distances certainly helps. So when you're playing in the 3rd and 1s and 2s, it makes it that much more challenging compared to 3rd and 9s and 10s and the longer ones where you're really able to play as a pass only kind of call. And I think that's been a big factor too. But I certainly lean on the players and their communication, their connection, their knowing not only what to do, but the verbal, the nonverbal, the communication of how to go within a play. And that's usually what we're looking for, to see how connected they are about the communication that can take place. Because one thing about our rush and cover, they're all interconnected. And that, to me, is what makes this group unique and tough and hard to deal with, because it's not just, guys who can guard but can't rush, or vice versa. It's truly an extension and a connection to one another, and I definitely feel that from them.
Brad
Sham, Cowboys Radio. I know you have reasons, Dan, for all the rotations. I noticed after the first Rams possession, fumble and scoop and score, you changed out the whole line. And I don't remember seeing you do that before then. About 2 more possessions, and it was 3 plus D-Law. Could you talk a little bit about what you were thinking about with that kind
Sure, and quite a bit of it comes from, being able to be at our best at the end of the half and at the end of the game. And so having enough guys who can rotate through, when you have a big, deep crew like ours, you want to be at your best in those moments at the end of the half in those critical situations. So it was really just tied into that, knowing that we were going to go right back out on the field. And good news, bad news, when there's no bad news about scoring a defensive touchdown. The good news is that you want to make sure, the guys are coming off. You're going right back out, and you want to get organized to go do that. So, not so unusual for us, but we do like to roll the guys through, especially early in the game, so we can make sure at the end of the half and at the end of the games that we are really ready to hit on all cylinders.
Skyler Dixon with the AP. This defense was coming off a really rough year when you got here. How much in those early days did you feel like you had to kind of build psyche and build morale as you started to get where you are now?
Yeah, that's a good question, Scott. I would say I didn't refer much to the past. I wasn't, part of the staff in that time. What I did do is knowing that we had to build a group together, because I was going to be new to them, and we also had a lot of new faces here for the 2021 season defensively. Some by the way of free agency, some through the way of the draft. And so building that connection early, I probably was able to lead based on how we want to play and creating our play style. And so fast forward a year, you really see, more of the players leading in that space now. And that's, to me, as a coach, what you're looking for, because inside the white lines, that's where the player-to-player communication and how it has to be, and the communication that you have to have, that's how it has to go down. And so I had a sense that would come this season. I certainly felt it during training camp when I heard their communications, the errors were down, and it's good to see that part continue to pick up. And I think there's another space for us to go to into that spot. We had two of the guys back yesterday who were excellent communicators for us, and J-Ron and Jordan. So to have those two guys back into that was big. But it's been excellent to see some of the guys lead that maybe just needed their own time and space to find their roles and how they could lead. And sometimes you need to have that role in order to lead, to know, like, you can count on me to do this. They've proven it to their teammates, and now you're able to demonstrate that leadership. And so I think proving it to one another is the first step of that. Hey, you can count on me to get this job done here all the time. And when you do that, I think it kind of builds that trust and accountability within each other.
Michael Kelpie, Dallas Morning News. What do you see right now from Sam Williams?
Well, I thought it was from the run game. It was Sam's best game this past week, and I'm expecting those steps to increase. And you might have heard me, Michael, say in the early part of the year, with some of the first-year players, there's some on-the-job training that goes in, and you live through some of the mistakes that happen because those are the times that you learn from. And so to see Sam, make the strides, and I think I don't know if it was his most play time, but I imagine it was. If it wasn't, it was near it. So to see him, create some plays and make them, that was big. And I continue, you'll likely see guys like him improve fast over the next couple of months, because all these lessons that you're learning, you get to keep stacking them, and I expect that to continue with him.
Dave Loffberg, Dallas Cowboys Radio. You talked about being at your best at the end of the first half and the end of the game, and you guys were literally the best last year in both categories, and you're picking up again this year in terms of 2-minute offense, 2-minute defense before the half at the end of the game. Is part of that the depth of keeping guys fresh and being able in those times to?
Yeah, I think so. And the reason why is, as you know, those plays happen fast. And it may be a 4 or 5 play sequence, and you want to make sure you're really at your best to go hit it. So by having that rotation early on, by the time you get to those moments, you're really ready to go let it rip for those specific times. And Joe Witt really works hard with our group. Wednesdays and Thursdays and even Friday are 2-minute at the end of the half, or 2-minute at the end of the game, and what we would call last plays. They would be inside of a 2-minute, but there's 14 seconds left in a timeout. There's 17 seconds. There's no timeout. And we go through those towards the end of the week. And so putting the guys in those spaces over the last 2 years, I really think they feel comfortable in those. They have a very good sense of what calls we would make into those spots. And now you can go really play knowing, hey, these are the calls we're going to feature. These are the routes we have to stop. This is the rush we have to do. So kind of tying the whole thing together. It's been good, and it's the best part of the games because it's the most on the line, the most pressure at it, and so being able to have a cool head in those moments is important. And guys like Curse and Hooker, who can really communicate, or a Barr or Van Der Esch, have that type of communication skill to get the information out quickly to the guys. That's when you can really let it rip and roll.
And I guess if I may, a little follow-up
Sure.
to that. So when you came into the league, you didn't have all these, play fast, hurry up offense.
Right.
Offense have gotten better at 2-minute.
Yep.
So have you in turn had to get better defensively in that situation?
I think so, and you're right that not everybody is doing it in the same fashion. In fact, just the other day, I think it was a Saturday meeting, we were doing some game management stuff, and we actually watched an old Broncos-Browns 2-minute. That might have been, the drive. Yeah, and you saw here it is in 2-minute, and they're in split backs and Elway's under center. It was, but seeing the guys, seeing him rip the ball, you heard a whoa, in the, when we were watching it all together. But to answer your question, yes, I think the defense has had to catch up to know that people are in different spots, different formation, tight ends out at number 1 and being featured players in a 2-minute. the backs have become so much better as receivers and counted on into that space. If you're going to put a double onto somebody and say, okay, this guy's not going to be affected now, who matches up on the backs? I think when you're looking at 2-minute and third downs, that's as big a part of the game as any, because if there's a matchup that a quarterback can try to find by putting people in a certain formation, sometimes you can see that. And so I think that for us is a big piece of it too, knowing who to match, where we're going to go with our help, and then obviously, if you can get your pass rush up and cranking and make the quarterback have to have decisions after he has the ball, then it can kind of tilt back to the defense. But if they're dictating to you, it can be a difficult space to be in, and so that's why I want to make sure those rushers are always ready to get it on, and at the end of the half and at the end of the games.
I got a couple of questions, but first, talk about rising to the occasion. Past 2 games, you short punts, the offense had the ball in scoring territory, and you kept them out the end zone. What did that say about this defense that turns the team away like
Yeah, I
that?
think they really have gone in a mindset of, hey, we're going to go play the next moment, and whether it's a short field or what could happen, or in this game, I think we had a stop at right at the 2-minute, and then there was a fake punt, and they got the ball back, and so that part of nothing can be done about what was down. All that matters is right now in this moment, in this play, and the next one. And so I think playing, I know it's cliche in a little bit, but playing the next play, I don't think it's ever mistaken for like how much you have to put into right now. If you're worried about the last one, that can only jam you up. So I think having that mindset as a whole group, they really on the sideline are connected together oftentimes. Hey, get the guys together. Like, Q, they are ready. They're ready to go back out. They're ready to do the thing. So that makes me feel good, because up top I don't know that all the time, because I'm not down there with them to feel the energy of it. And so knowing that they're ready for the challenge, that lights me up.
We've talked about your love for hip-hop. Did you know back when McCarthy knew a little bit about gangster rap, and what do you think?
I did not know that. That was a big surprise. So he put that on everybody. So what I would really like to know is what kind of wager between the OC and Dr. Dre went down, and what took place between Dallas and LA in that competition. But isn't that what it's all about, man, with friends, and especially our oldest and longest friends, and those bets that go on for years, and I'm sure they had a good time at that game. But it was cool to have him share some experiences and the things that he's doing in our community around here, to know that he wants to make a difference and wants our help to be a part of that. And I know firsthand that not only the players but the coaches, we want to be a part of that help too.
You greeted several players in the locker room, going in the locker room after the game. I don't know if you've done that this year, but what prompted that yesterday?
Yeah, that's nothing new for me. Maybe I'd just do it inside the locker room, and because guys were coming off the field, I didn't get a chance to see, maybe I beat them down there, so that was probably why you saw it. But I think just, I've told you before, I like doing hard things with a group of people. And so being in that moment, I really have a lot of, good feelings and happiness to see them do well. And so I want to make sure they know that was a job well done, and their fight and their effort, it's worth it. And so I always enjoy that time with them, and we put a lot of time into the week about how we want to go and how we want to play and what it should look like. And so when we nail it, I want to make sure that they know that they nailed it.
You got Philly, they got Philly this weekend. What problems does Hurts present to you guys?
Well, I think, their offense in general, they have just been an explosive play machine, over the last couple of years, both in the run game and in the pass game. The line coach, Jeff Stoutland, I think is outstanding, and one that has a run design that's always on point. And now they add Hurts in there as an additional ball carrier to that. I'm still kind of fresh into the preparation piece of it, but I'm looking forward to seeing how they have incorporated AJ into that and where we're going. But big stable of running backs, good running game, and a quarterback that's certainly making the plays. So we'll have our work cut out for us, but definitely a challenge, one that we're looking forward to. And so we certainly envision a tuned-up crowd on Sunday night, and that's the best, man. It is the absolute best, and so it's fun, being part of those, and be cool NFC East rivalry here Sunday night, and two good teams wanting to go fight for it.
Two questions about your defensive line. First, we ask always about player development, but how about coach development in terms of adding? You've been around him for now a long time. What's your relationship with him at the personal and professional level, and seeing how he's evolved?
Yeah, and Man, what a remarkable story he is in general. And I think what sets him apart is his ability to connect and to teach. And so the very best teachers I've been a part of or have seen were not only good in the classroom, but out on the practice field and could watch something with their eyes and give somebody feedback. And collectively, what maybe AD's biggest superpower is his ability to develop a culture within a group, and really high standards, really straightforward. He's positive, but he's tough. And to see that whole group really embodying that mindset of we're not only going to play tough and physical, but it's all of us together. I think that kind of shows a good bit of his personality, his teaching style, and he's done a remarkable job. I couldn't have been prouder of him over the last couple of years, seeing him take a bigger step, and there'll be bigger steps for him in the future for sure.
Second, to start the second quarter, Sam had a tackle for a loss. Very next play on second down, Tristan had a tackle for a loss, and then the third play, third down, DeMarcus makes a play 12 yards downfield to get off the field. What struck you about that sequence?
Well, I could say the one with Law surprised me because it wasn't what he was supposed to be doing. But the thing with Law, he just plays so damn violently, and I love his style, his effort, and you felt his intensity prior to this game. I don't know if you guys saw him, but he had the eye of the tiger ready to go, and other people feed off of him from that. And I really admire that about him. He is always ready to go. As far as the first two plays, with Sam, one was a blitz on him, and I thought he really did a good job of winning on the backside and being aggressive. Sam's got good speed and he's got length, so when he gets his hands on you, he's usually able to wrap you up and finish the job, and he did that. So over the past couple weeks, he's shown he can be a factor in the run game, and he's really improving in that spot too. The one for Tristan, I thought he did a really good job too of on the backside. He almost had the guy from behind like it was going to be a horse collar, readjusted himself to go and finish the play. Like, those are smart plays, and so we're going to continue to try to keep these penalties down when we can. But in the run game and converting to pass, all those for both Sam and Tristan, I thought that was a good series for those two.
Todd Archer of the ESPN. You've learned a lot about Micah in his 17 games, whatever it's been here, or 21 games for you. What'd you learn about him yesterday when he wasn't right to still be out there and want to be out there?
I didn't learn it yesterday, but I do know this is a rare competitor, and it would take a hell of a lot to keep him out. And so if there's a way, he'll find it. He's just so driven in that space, so he'll compete at anything. If you want to, right now, like we're having a spelling competition, he would be the first one sitting right next to you to say, all right, let's go, Todd. So he loves competing at anything, and so this was no different to an injury to say, I may not be able to do some of the things that I can normally do, but I know I can do these things well. And once he said that, I knew, all right, we're going to get him for a part of this half or a part of the game, and we'd feature him in those ways. And he delivered like he normally does. But I think I didn't find it out yesterday, but I do know in my heart this is a rare competitor, and he is just always up for the challenge.
With Trayvon, after the 2 catches he allowed, it seemed like he...
Yeah, I think he got a little bit of a bad rap on the one because Malik was actually supposed to be over the top helping him too, so I'm sure Hook would tell you that too. But what I was pleased about with Trey was his tackling in this game. And there was a screen play, I'm sure you guys saw it on the right sideline, beat one block, got the second one to make a tackle. And so those were the kind of tackles, like he saved a big play on that one. So I thought, yeah, I'd like to have the other one back where he undercut the short yardage play and Cup hit for the long one where he could just stay on the top shoulder and make the play and go. But what I was pleased with him about in this game was his ability to tackle. Man, it was good to see. We had a sense that these guys would have some catch and run plays. That's been a big part of what they do. Their screen package has been big, and so to see Trey deliver on those, I thought that was critical.
Micah, I want to say I have to do the math for certain, but he might have more pass rush attempts through the first 5 games than he did through the first 10 last year, the way you guys are using him. Is there what's been the shift there since you guys first got your hands on him, and is there a wear and tear consideration of how much is too much?
Yeah, and he was a linebacker yesterday, for a good bit of it. And then when he got injured, we put him mostly down to defensive end. So it's more by game to say, hey, how do we want to feature him, behind the ball on some of the run plays that we wanted to, feature him into that spot, or on passing downs, could we put him down at defensive end? So it's a little bit by game, not a little bit, a lot of it by game plan. And on the passing downs, whether he's at linebacker to cover and guard or at defensive end, where could we put him in, hopefully, the spots to make the biggest impact? So I'd say a little bit of both, but I don't know the numbers over that. But he was at DN for a few games last year in the middle of it. So are they counting blitzes as pass rush snaps?
Yeah.
Okay, so that one might be different to say where he was at defensive end, at linebacker. That's probably a different study to go through. So I don't know. That's a good question. I don't worry about the wear and tear on them. I just try to feature all the guys in the different matchups. And so sometimes it's at D end is the best spot for that game. Other times it's at linebacker for that game. Sometimes it's just by the package. Say if they're in a big group, he may be at linebacker, and a subgroup, where they're big throwing one, we may put him down at D end. So a little bit of cat and mouse, I would say.
Babe.
Dan, I know there's probably nothing better than that first possession, sack, fumble, touchdown. But is it just as gratifying, maybe the game's still in the balance, it's a 9-point game, punt return, they get it at the 29. They lose 4 yards, they miss the field goal. Is that possession defensively almost as gratifying to you as the sack, strip, fumble, even though obviously?
Yeah, I know what you mean. The energy that goes with that when you're really fighting for a series, a momentum shift to go and to shut the door on those ones, that to me is as big as anything, because when you have moments to go answer and you deliver on them, those are big plays. And I see that excitement that they have. So I'd say, yeah. And at the end of the game, certainly those were fun ones too, to see a chance to say Malik on the interception. That was a good rush by Dante. Another one on the forced fumble, I think it was Sam who had the recovery. Seeing those moments finish, at our end of the pool when they're, still trying to come back and fight for it. Those are cool plays, and you're really ready to recognize those. And so that probably prompted some of when you guys saw me in the locker room, just how excited I was to see them make some plays at the end. So we've been digging for the ball, and it hadn't been coming our way all the way. So I'm glad they weren't chasing it, knowing that, hey, the opportunities are going to be there if we play our style and do like we like. So it was good to get in the end zone. We had to wait 5 games this year to do that, but it was good, seeing Law with a big spike. So that was cool.
Finish up at top.
Dan, the relationship between the coaches and the personnel department here, is it different than in other spots you've been throughout your time in the league? And what's the benefit that they know what you're looking for? Because you look at all the guys you've had in the draft for free agency, you have specific thoughts in mind.
Yeah, I think with every organization, man, is it important, Todd, because there'd be one train of thought to have, just, hey, this is the group we have and you guys coach them. And but having that connection between the coaching staff and the personnel side, it's so important. And so if we can say from the coaching side, hey, this is how we would feature the player if he was on our team, I think it can kind of paint a picture for the personnel side to say, okay, this is, how we'd feature him. And then what I think then the role is, how do you get him? When would you pick him? The coaches, we'd take him in the first. We'd take him all the time. Like we need 25 first-round picks. But I think the personnel guys, no. None of us know the entire draft like the personnel side does. So they know how to filter it down and go all the way through. So I think what I'm getting to, Todd, I think it's the balance of that. And when you find that connection where teams know how to balance that out, I think that's when players can really thrive, because you're putting somebody in a system that the coach is going to be very clear in how to utilize them. Nothing can be more frustrating. Well, why aren't they using them like they did in college? And maybe a coach didn't have a vision for that, of how to use a player. Or the coaching side could say, hey, why don't we have this guy? He's not, to this, size or speed that we need for the position. So when you see that connection take place, usually that's when those players are making those big jumps, because both sides had a very clear vision of what he would do if he was on your team. And I think Will and Mike, from our leadership side, and through Jerry and Steven, they really do a good job of listening to the coaches to make sure we have a clear vision, if they're here, how they play them. So we're very fortunate in that way.
All right, thank you, Dan.
All right, you guys have a good one. We'll see you next week.